Hello everybody, welcome to PLAE, Psychedelic Languaging, Activation and Encoding. My name is Dr. Rebecca Sullivan. I want to begin by saying that I am beyond passionate about PLAE. I do not even know where to begin because natural plant medicine has shifted my life and my students and clients in miraculous ways. This is more than just a course, rather it's a movement and radical shift in lifestyle and your existence. You will learn to interact with your everyday reality with a change in awareness that will shift your perception of your consciousness to create harmonic balance in your life on all levels, emotional, physical, and spiritual levels. So really, all you need to believe is that you are part of something bigger, that you are part of a fabric that connects everybody together. PLAE can be completed in 8 weeks. It consists of videos, audios, PDFs, and meditations. However, it's ultimately self-paced. There's 2 modules that are released a week. You can do it in the 8 weeks, or you can take whatever time you need. You will also have the opportunity to go to exclusive VIP natural plant medicine events with Awake and PLAE students. The natural plant medicines that I mainly work with are ayahuasca and psilocybin mushrooms. In this course, you will learn about the other medicines, but we actively right now on the retreats are doing the ayahuasca and the psilocybin. This program teaches you the ins and outs of plant medicine, what you will experience personally in your own journeys, how you can work with people before, during, and after their journeys as a psychedelic coach. Also, as you come to the retreats, you can also learn to facilitate and have your own clients in ceremony, and you'll also learn how to make the medicine. So people who join PLAE, and PLAE has been around since 2020, they are people who are taking these ayahuasca or psilocybin journeys by themselves and want to do this with the education that they received beforehand through PLAE. There are also people that desire to be psychedelic coaches, and there are people who have done this and now they're facilitating their own ceremonies as well. Through PLAE, it'll bring the morphic field of the natural plant medicine to you through the teachings and the meditations and the calls that we offer through Zoom, so that you're already understanding what you're going to experience before you even go. So I've also had people that will purchase PLAE and just do this before they even go to any other retreats as well. Once again, you will be exclusively invited to come to our retreats, which we offer 4 times a year, that are only offered to my Awake and PLAE students. You are going to heal beyond measure while getting the opportunity to learn how to work not only with yourself through the rest of your life being in this energy, but working with others or even potentially hosting your own retreats as well. I call it PLAE because I have learned to play and heal at the same time. We do not need to suffer to heal. We can heal through joy and laughter and pleasure. PLAE is about working in the flow, understanding that the universe will show up for you when you are in that here and now moment, which natural plant medicine facilitates for you. Once upon a time in our land, people just lived in the here and now. They spoke with trees and listened to plants and communicated with nature. That's how the medicine women and the medicine men knew what to use initially on people, is they were talking to the plants. Remember, Mother Earth is our divine mother, and in her we have everything to heal and thrive right in front of our faces. If we listen to Mother Nature, she will talk to us and communicate it with us and tell us the secrets of healing and thriving. She will embrace us and give us the respect that we give her. Disconnecting from the natural plants is like us disconnecting from our natural intuitive abilities. Mother Earth is our home. I think it's about time that we learn to connect again. I have a beautiful student who joined Awake and Play, who was born in Peru. She grew up talking to and listening to the plants and the trees. The plants and trees would communicate on different types of healings and what to take. Her family used nature to heal. She said she never went to hospitals or doctors. When she was in her 20s, she moved to San Diego to get a college degree. She wanted to experience what it was like to live a corporate life. She got a beautiful corporate job, made really good money, had a very beautiful husband, but she was diagnosed with a hole in her heart. Even though she had the best medicines and the best doctors, she was given a death sentence. So she moved from San Diego back to Peru and went into her old lifestyle, communicating with the trees and the plants and connecting with nature. And she no longer has the hole in her heart. She healed from that quote unquote incurable disease. I believe that Western medicine and Eastern medicine can hold hands and work together in magical and miraculous ways. Western medicine is so sophisticated. It's really great for the emergency services that it offers, for the ability to see in the body, to do blood work, etc., etc. But when it comes to understanding who we are at a core level, it's really important that we connect with our energies, that we connect with ourselves at the deepest level to understand how to completely heal what is going on. We need to understand why the dis-ease or illness is happening to us, and we need to correct it in the here and now. That is combining mind, body, and spirit. Play has existed since 2020. I've been doing natural plant medicine since 2014. I first sat with Mother Ayahuasca in the year 2014, as I was saying earlier, in Iquitos, Peru. I was undergoing intense training with shamans and an MD from UCLA who turned shaman, so I felt like I was getting the best of both environments. I was learning the Eastern perspective and the Western perspective of learning about the medicine, and I can combine the two. This was a really good move. I studied for a few months in Peru before embarking on my own plant medicine journeys, both personally and for my clients and students. So I've had over 10 years experience doing this. At that time, I owned 3 clinical primary care offices and mental health offices, but I was born psychic with the ability to know how to innately do energy work. So I wanted to weave the two worlds together in a balanced understanding of how not just to treat the symptoms, but to heal the core of all diseases. And this has worked out beautifully. That was 10 years ago. A curious woman who leaped into a world that would drastically change everything about my life: health, love, wealth, and joy. The medicine actually started calling me in the year 2013. I heard intuitively to use tea to treat my current clients. I had no understanding of where this message was coming from, so I actually was trying different herbal teas like chamomile and lavender and giving these teas to my clients before they came into my office. Then one of my clients actually came and told me that she just came from an ayahuasca ceremony in Iquitos, Peru, where she had met the doctor from UCLA and suggested that I go. I knew that was what I was hearing. That's what my intuitive abilities were telling me. So in October of 2014, I was in a Maloca in Peru drinking the tea. At that time, I had a lot I was working through. I had an amazing career, but I just had a miscarriage, and I knew that this baby was meant to be in my reality. I was in a toxic relationship at the time, and I was very allergic to bees and overweight. At first, when I took the medicine, I just saw chakras. I was just sitting around watching everybody else, thinking about how easy this was. I was just seeing chakras and relaxing and really feeling good on the medicine. But then the next day, there was this bee following me around. It didn't sting me, but it followed me around for hours. And I said to the bee, just get it over with. Whatever you're planning to do, just do it. That night in the Maloca, after taking the natural plant medicine, I had to go outside and use the bathroom. When I came back in, I sat on my mat, and it was pure dark. And I felt like tarantulas were eating me, but in reality, it was bees stinging me. I started to get all red and puffy, and I ran up to the medical doctor that spoke English and I said, I'm praying that you have an EpiPen. After all, we were in the middle of nowhere. The only way to get to civilization was on a canoe, canoeing for 2 hours, and then being picked up by someone on a motorbike and traveling another hour into town. And he looks at me and he says, yes, I have all that stuff, but you don't need it. Just surrender, take some deep breaths, and go where you need to go. So I laid down on my mat thinking, it is now that I'm going to die in the middle of nowhere. My children are going to be like, my mom just went insane and did ayahuasca. So I just said, okay, I'm about ready to die. I surrendered into it, and this is where all my healing took place. I actually had 3D life reviews, and this is where you go through your life and you get to see and feel and understand what you've done for other people, what you've done for yourself. There was a lot of purging that happened during this time. I was purging guilt, doubt, shame, fear. I was seeing the good things I've done, the bad things I've done. It was quite the night, but what I can tell you is I'm no longer allergic to bees. This was the beginning of my journey. Since then, between facilitating retreats and doing them for myself, I have done over 200 ceremonies. I have experienced, seen, and been a part of nothing short than miracles that have changed my life, my clients, and my students' lives forever. Every scare I've ever had with my physical body has been treated with natural plant medicine and energy work, as well as any relationship issues I have, and the ability to create a life where I can say I'm living my heaven on earth. I had an endometriosis scare where the doctors thought I had endometriosis and I had a scheduled appointment to get a scope and then possibly scraped if necessary. Immediately I went to Costa Rica and I did natural plant medicine. I came back, I went back to the doctors, and they said it must have been a heavy period because I no longer had the endometriosis. I had a breast cancer scare where there was a lump that they need to biopsy. Immediately I went into work on myself with natural plant medicine, went back to get the biopsy, and they actually didn't do the biopsy because they said the lump was gone. If we really knew what it felt like to live in pure unconditional love, we'd be living in our nirvanas. So I had an infection in my breast, which is the heart chakra. I went to the doctors because it was growing rapidly and they had to do an emergency surgery at West Virginia University. Once they tested what they got from my breast, it was an unidentified purple growing virus. They thought it was a goody virus that they said would take up to a year to treat with antibiotic medication. But right then they told me I needed to have intravenous antibiotics for at least 6 weeks. 3 days from then, I had a scheduled retreat with my Awake and PLAE students in California. I told the infectious disease doctors and the medical doctors, there is no way that I can get on intravenous medications. I have to go to this retreat. And I explained to them that I was doing natural plant medicine. At first, they were definitely not understanding. They told me I would not be able to go. After further talking to the lead doctor and telling him about the results I've had from it, he agreed to let me go with the understanding that I would go to their emergency room if necessary and take the oral antibiotics. I did take the antibiotics for 2 days, went to the natural plant medicine ceremony, and I worked on myself to the point when I came back 7 days later, all of my blood work was completely normal. The infection was completely healed and not a drop of antibiotic medication did I have to take. I showed my students in Awake and PLAE the blood work before and after. After that, I had a lot of participation at the natural plant medicine retreats, and many other people have experienced similar stories. Plant medicine has been a to-go-to for my husband and I, and it should be for all relationships. In PLAE, we teach you actually how to combine Tantra with natural plant medicine to deepen the intimacy with yourself as well as your current relationship. I believe in the medicine so much that I actually did ayahuasca in my 3rd trimester of pregnancy with my 6-year-old daughter, and she actually helps me to facilitate during the ceremonies. It's been quite rewarding. I believe drinking ayahuasca is like drinking the milk of Mother Earth. It makes us grow beyond measure. It is more than the sum of its parts. It opens up realms of infinite possibilities that we previously could not see or recognize. It will guide you into many dimensions of the unknown. It is up to you to follow your soul calling and muster up the courage to take that leap. When I was studying in Iquitos in Peru, I was able to see how the natural plant medicine works with the Western perspective as well as the Eastern perspective. Let's start with the Western medicine philosophies and how it works on the body. So I'm just going to give you a few examples because I could spend probably a couple hours just talking about this subject. And although we'll get deeper into that during the training and play, I just want to briefly scan over it right now. Let me start off by saying that when you're working with the medicine, it opens up both the right and left hemisphere of the brain. Normally speaking, this does not occur naturally unless you're a musician and you're reading music, playing the instrument at the same time. It does happen during those times because you're in the here and now moment. But through our ordinary days, we have the right and left hemisphere alternating as far as when they light up. When you're on the medicine, both the right and left hemisphere of the brain lights up and it cross communicates. What this means is the body is intrinsically learning how to heal itself. So I'll give you an example. I had a client once for eye movement integration, which is similar to eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. And what it is, it's bilateral stimulation where your eyes are moving back and forth, or you can tap. But basically, through doing this, it helps to activate the right and left hemisphere of the brain. So this client was traumatized. I was working with him because his dad used to play Russian roulette with him when he was like 5, and his mom would also beat him like every day. So he was completely unable to sleep. He was an insomniac, and he came to me in his 30s for help. With one EMI session that was 3.5 hours long, he actually started sleeping and was extremely happy with the results and would send me even Christmas cards. We teach the EMI in the Awake Academy. However, when I took a very similar patient and did magic mushrooms with this patient, he was traumatized. I rolled my sleeves up and I was ready to do the EMI. The medicine had kicked in, and 5 minutes later, it was done. The trauma was gone. Very equivalent to the gentleman who I'd worked on for 3.5 hours. It was just done. And so then he said, I just feel like I need to lay down and relax. And then he proceeded to have full-blown psychic surgery on his back. So that was an example of the medicine opening up the right and left hemisphere of the brain and the body just intrinsically healing it like right away. Okay, so now let's go deeper into some physical things that may happen to the body, such as rheumatoid arthritis, Lyme's disease, fibromyalgia, autoimmune disorders, celiac, those type of diseases or illnesses where the doctors kind of throw their hands up and they're like, we just don't know what to do with this. And oftentimes, whenever I worked in my mental health practice, these patients would be sent to us because the doctors would say, we don't know what's going on physically. This must be something in your head, or it must be mental or emotional. Well, so let's talk about the vagus nerve. So the vagus nerve is the nerve that goes from the base of your spine all the way up through your head, and it goes down to your tongue. The tongue is the end of the vagus nerve. Okay, and the vagus nerve has dura fluid, which flows around it. The dura fluid is supposed to flow naturally and organically to help us communicate on a neurological level, our nervous system to the other organs of our body. What's attached to the dura fluid and the vagus nerve is the limbic system. The limbic system is the part of us that regulates our emotions. So if we repress our emotions, if we're not telling how we feel, or we're not crying when we should, or we're not becoming sad when we should, if we are not expelling or purging our emotions on an everyday basis, or our feelings, processing them, then the dura fluid starts to turn into concrete. It no longer flows because the limbic system is unable to release. The limbic system will release through things such as tears, like when you cry, or when you're laughing, or even breathing correctly. So the ability to breathe correctly, which a lot of people don't because they're in the fight or flight syndrome, helps to expel the energies that we no longer need. When we repress those emotions, they turn into concrete around the dura fluid. It's no longer flowing, which is where the back pain comes in, the fibromyalgia comes in, your whole body just feels stiff, where you might be diagnosed with Epstein-Barr, Lyme's disease, and people don't know what's going on. It's when the dura fluid starts to turn into concrete, that's within the nervous system. It's unable to communicate effectively with the other organs and the neurological system, which then just starts to shut down the body. So what I've noticed is through natural plant medicine, and specifically ayahuasca, it will find the concrete in the dura fluid, and it will bring that energy or those emotions to the surface. So when people start to work under ayahuasca, what they'll do is they'll start to have a memory that they remember something that happened when they were 7, and they'll purge that. But that's not just swimming in your trauma, that's releasing it. So that's why you purge in ayahuasca. That's why you may have diarrhea or throw up, or I teach you how to purge through the life force breath, but you're purging out that stuck and stagnant energy. That's why people feel so good afterwards, because they're finally releasing that. And they'll even do this and be like, I can move my back, I can move. Autoimmune disorders will heal, rheumatoid arthritis will heal, because you are freeing up the dura fluid around the vagus nerve, and then your body starts to talk to itself and interact, and then it starts to basically get online again in the dura fluid to keep flowing. The pineal gland, through the fluoride that we have or the heavy metals that we are digesting, through the vaccinations that we're taking, through the chemtrails, our pineal gland is supposed to be the size of a golf ball, but most people's are the size of a pea. So the pineal gland is becoming calcified. The pineal gland is in charge of secreting serotonin and even the small amount of DMT that we release on a daily basis. So when the pineal gland shrinks from a golf ball to a pea size, basically we're unable to produce the serotonin that we need, which can make us feel trapped inside of ourselves like we're on this hamster wheel. So as you do natural plant medicine and you're opening up the right and left hemisphere, you are also decalcifying the pineal gland. Instead of feeling isolated and trapped inside yourself, you are feeling connected to the world outside of you. You no longer feel alone. So as far as the Eastern perspective, I've seen some things that you could only call magic, like psychic surgeries, or even the igarus that are used during the natural plant medicine ceremony, are bringing in the essence of the ayahuasca and her spirits that she carries, and she's able to work on you in a very profound, etherical way. I've seen people meet ascended masters. I've seen people have psychic surgeries. I've seen people look beyond the veils that they see every day and really, really get into the unknown. It just has such a loving presence about it. It really cannot be explained on a scientific level, because once again, science is limited. Science will admit it's limited. And this is really taking you into the realms of infinite possibilities that we as humans don't even know about yet, but Mother Earth, she does. So through PLAE, which is once again the psychedelic languaging, activation, and encoding, you will learn the ins and outs of plant medicine, how to navigate and fly through your own journeys, and how to make the medicine for your own clients if you choose to have clients, or for your family, or for your friends. But it will be a very sacred process that you will never forget. I healed tremendously when I went to Peru, and I am very thankful for my experience. When I was in the Maloka, we were in a controlled environment. We would have sometimes 30 to 60 people in there, and we all sat on our mats in the dark, and we did a lot of internal processing. We would sit there for 9 to 11 hours at times, but when we were dismissed and I left the Maloka, what I noticed was the universe would show up for me. The trees would, that's when I could hear the trees talk, or I could hear the animals talk, or I would be thinking of a situation in my brain and someone would come up and give me the answer to what I was just thinking about. I would be thinking about something and question something, and all of a sudden I would walk back to the cabin and there would be a poster with my answer on it. It was like everything was just falling into place. Everything was so synchronistic. So I was like, what if we had ceremonies and retreats small enough where people could take internal journeys if they chose, but they could also get up, go by the fire, play instruments, dance, do movements, do breath work, and notice how the universe was showing up for them through nature and everything surrounding it, so that we could learn to once again come online and allow our lives to be completely synchronistic. So that's what PLAE is all about. And I really pride myself in the magic that the students are experiencing through this. So once again, through play, I teach you how to do the life force breath. The life force breath is the breath that we can breathe. It's a full body breath through all of our chakras. The reason this is important is because instead of purging either through diarrhea or throwing up, if you learn the life force breath, you can purge through this breath. You learn how to navigate through your shadow energies. If you ever Google ayahuasca and someone is telling you that they're being chased by spiders or snakes or monsters, 100% of the time, this is their own shadow energies, which, when I say shadow energies, it's your own guilt, doubt, shame, or fear that's coming back to haunt you. That's what is referred to as your inner demons. When you learn how to navigate through those shadow energies before you go to the ceremonies or the retreats, basically you're learning how to avoid those negative situations and stay in the field of the heart. That's priceless. You're learning different breath, you're learning different movements, different dances. You're learning how to connect with everything that is. It doesn't matter what your belief system is. You're learning how to connect with the energies outside of you so that you know how to, once again, come online and live a synchronistic life where you can create your own reality. Drumming, active meditation such as psychedelic dancing, trance music. So we really have it all under one umbrella, and then you can choose what works for you. We actually integrate the natural plant medicine with sound healing. Part of the techniques in play are learning how to shapeshift. Shapeshifting is the ability for the body to start to take on a form or move into that form where it is releasing an unhealthy pattern and allowing you to work on the field outside of your body, what we call the quantum field, to become flexible and to bring in what you need in order to heal. It is a very powerful technique and I highly recommend it. Also, one of the techniques that you will learn in play is the weaving technique, and that is how to reverse engineer. And that is basically how to take what you want to create and weave it into the here and now through a movement that you do with your hands. You'll also learn about the all-seeing hand in play, which is what you see when you see shamans work. They're pulling stuff out. They're just knowing what to do with their hands. You're not thinking about this in your brain. Your brain will get in the way. So it's very important that you connect in the energy and allow your body to move with the energy and the flow that you're creating during these ceremonies. You'll also learn about Tantra, which we discussed the importance of Tantra, which Tantra means to weave in and out anyways, but combining this with natural plant medicine is super powerful. You'll also learn about many other different things in play. This is just a few things that you'll be learning. Also, you will be doing a lot of DNA work in play and when you engage in the plant medicine, and that is rewriting our DNA. So I think it's fair to say that we all agree, whether we're science-based or we're theoretically based, that our DNA has a lot of power over who we are today. We are born through the stories that are written in our DNA. That's where you hear, oh, I'm predisposed to breast cancer, or I'm predisposed to diabetes, or I'm predisposed to Parkinson's. You're predisposed because it's written in your DNA. So what plant medicine does, and energy work as well, what it does is it helps to free the DNA of that stuck stagnant energy, of the energy and the information that is no longer useful to us, and reprogram it and rewrite the story. This is extremely powerful. Something I noticed in plant medicine, which I'm not sure if anybody else really picked up on this, but what I would notice is I could see, because I'm a seer, I can see into people's energy fields. And when they were working on themselves, I could see when they were going deep into the DNA while under the medicine. What would happen is when they got to the stuck, stagnant energy, which is like anger and guilt, doubt, shame, and fear, those shadow energies that have been buried for so long over generations and generations, it came out like the person was possessed, like foaming at the mouth, their eyes rolling in the back of their head. It kind of looked like you're watching The Exorcist. It looked like what you would see on an exorcism. And I realized this is their DNA trying to come out and free. This is all that anger, guilt, doubt, and shame and fear trying to free itself. And then they would start speaking the language of their ancestors. So if they were part German, they would start speaking German. And you could easily say that's a full-blown demonic possession. But really what it was them freeing their stories of their DNA. And they would purge, and it looked scary at first. You know, I'm sitting there with wide eyes on my first couple ceremonies, and then I understood what was happening. The shamans dealt with it beautifully. They don't feed the energy. You don't want to feed a monster. They just let it go. But the next day, these people, they just looked and acted different. They would come up and they would thank the shamans and they would say, "Thank you so much for allowing me to free this, for allowing me the space to let this go." So that's one of the things when you learn about natural plant medicine. Sometimes it's not all pretty, but you have to give that space for that to happen. So we have that DNA encoding and activation. And writing your stories, when you rewrite your stories, it's amazing because you can take a story where you're never going to experience true love, you're going to be sick, and you can rewrite that for yourself where true love is an everyday event in your life and you're never sick, you're in perfect health. One of the things that is a pet peeve of mine is when people call natural plant medicine a drug. I'm thinking, no, I make the plant medicine. I know it's a vine and a root. It's Mother Earth's plants mixed with distilled water and lemon. That's all it is. That's not a drug. That's natural plant medicine. Now, Advil and Tylenol and Pepto-Bismol and Mucinex, they're drugs, but not natural plant medicine. So I do try to get people to see this in the perspective that it's in. When something grows out of Mother Earth and we're listening to Mother Earth and we take her gifts to us and we drink it or we eat it, we're not drugging ourselves up. We are seeing and waking up for the first time and seeing behind these closed veils. So people will be like, "I'm hallucinating and seeing shapes." No, what you're seeing are powerful geometrical symbols that when you assimilate into your body is activating you and re-encoding your DNA. So you want to see this stuff. We are asleep normally. So I like for people to shift that from "I'm hallucinating" and out of it to, "Oh no, I am seeing for the first time and experiencing things I have never experienced before that can heal me and create my own heaven on earth." When you're learning about play and the techniques and how to work with people, you're going to be learning about neurolinguistic programming and the 0 point, which is the 0 point is that ability to get into the here and now energy and not worry about the past, which is where we hold the guilt, or the future, which is where we hold anxiety. But we're focused on the here and now, and it's in the here and now that we can heal. It's in the moment that we can heal because we're letting go of the stories that define us or the fear that we think we're walking into. We're just allowing the healing to happen in the here and now moment. Also, natural plant medicine is different from drugs because normally, in order for drugs to work, you have to take more and more each time. As you start to take the natural plant medicine and she starts to become a permanent essence within you, then you can basically just put some on your tongue or think about it or just intend to be a part of that energy and you are there. So now when I do the natural plant medicine ceremonies, I barely take any at all. I take it to connect with my clients when I need to or my students, or if I'm working through something big, but it's already become a part of me. I went on a surfing retreat in Costa Rica where I was learning how to surf the green waves. And I'm doing this because we are getting a beautiful Costa Rica retreat house that's going to be done in December where the PLAE students and the Awake students will be able to facilitate their own ceremonies from this retreat center. So I'm there learning how to surf because if I'm going to live in Costa Rica part-time, I want to learn how to surf. One of the surf instructors came up to me. He looked about 30. He looked like he was having a lot of fun. And he looked at me and he went like this. And he said, "I see the medicine in you." And he didn't know what I did for a living. And I was thinking, surf medicine? And he goes, "You know what I'm talking about." He goes, "The ayahuasca." And I looked shocked. And he said, "I can see her in you. She's working very powerfully. She's in you. She's never out of you now, Rebecca. She'll always be in you." And he said, "Just keep on opening up your heart." And then he once again did that bow, basically saying, thank you for using the medicine to work on others. We teach you in play how to navigate this journey with the deepest, profound love, which completely alchemizes the experience. With play, I teach my students about all of this before going into ceremony so they can experience the gentle and loving essence of the natural plant medicine. You are starting to understand and love yourself before even taking the medicine. Also, with taking natural plant medicine, what I've noticed is when you're in that here and now moment and you're able to understand how things connect together synchronistically when you allow them to, and they show up for you when you allow them to, You can use that as a reference point even when you're not on the medicine to make this your everyday experience. One of the coolest things that I'll never be able to stop smiling about is when you're in the here and now moment and you're working with a natural plant medicine, and even when you hold on to that reference point outside the natural plant medicine, music starts to play to answer your questions or to join the conversation that you're having with others or to meet your thoughts, not just the music, the different videos that you may see, what comes over your email, what comes over the phone, the people that call you. So basically, you're connecting to electromagnetic waves and you are shifting the frequency to what you're resonating through the heart space. And essentially, you're just always receiving good news in your life. One of the most life-changing ceremonies that I had personally was actually when I was working with private clients. And I had a private client come out and say to me, you need to go and look at the stars. For some reason, it's very important that you lay down and look at these stars. And it was in Sedona, Arizona. So I was looking at the stars and I heard my intuition say, connect the field of your heart, your own mothership, which is the field of your heart, to your mothership star. And you'll know what star to connect to. So I picked my mothership star. And then I heard, okay, now what is your intentions? Don't put out there how it's going to happen, but the frequency of what you want to happen, which is how you manifest. And so I did that and I was just relaxing. And all of the stars around my mothership star started to fly like this, like spaceships. And I was so excited and so happy. I just got up and started jumping up and down. And then I heard the stars are aligning for you. And if you've ever heard the expression, the stars align, this is what it means. When the stars align for you, it's essentially changing the field of energy around you to bring in your intentions. And so this is a technique that we do during the natural plant medicine, but it's also a byproduct of that connection, that being one with everything that is, you start to see miracles happen. I'll give you another example. I was at a ceremony with a gentleman who was a CEO, and he was actually going to make a multi-million-dollar deal with Amazon or Google. He wasn't sure who he's going to go through, and he said he had to work through some personal stuff to be able to make this large of a deal. And so when he did, he was working through, as he said, his own inner demons and really purging in the bathroom. And then he finally came to me and he's like, I can feel my heart open for the first time. Rebecca, I'm where I need to be. And so then you'll learn this. We wanted to anchor that state in. And I said, give me something. What is this? What does this remind you of? And he said, it's like a fire that won't go out. And so we continued the rest of the night. We actually sat around the fire and then he went to bed. And I went out later that night to put the fire out. And you know what? It wouldn't go out. And so then I woke him up and I said, the fire's not going out. And he was so happy to see that. We would pour gallons of water on the fire and it would just light back up. And it didn't go out until right when we left in the morning. Once again, that's the connection with nature. It starts to do things that are paranormal, and it starts to, that's when you start seeing those miracles happen right in front of your face. Remember, miracles are only miracles because they're outside of our belief systems. So as soon as we see them and we bring them into our awareness, we believe it can happen, and then we expect and receive larger miracles in our lives. I have so many stories that I invite you to listen to the testimonials that are on my website about PLAE. There's testimonies about Awake and PLAE both there so that you can hear people's stories. There have been people that were dying, literally dying. They've had death sentences that have healed in PLAE during these ceremonies. So we actually did a natural plant medicine retreat with the Awake and PLAE students in the year 2020 on the 37th Parallel Highway in the border of Tennessee and North Carolina. And we basically did a huge healing on the land as well as continuously healing ourselves. But the healing on the land was so profound that the person who owned the place that we were doing the retreat at actually came up and thanked us afterwards. And in this picture, you see during the sunset, this is what came forth. I knew there was something magical going to come forth, and this was the sunset we experienced. And it is literally like the new earth coming forward. You can see the clouds actually look like they are castles. And this was taken with an iPhone. So in the peripheral of it, which isn't even in the picture, you can actually see more of the castles and horses as well. So this was quite the event, and this is just another example of what we see during the natural plant medicine ceremonies. This picture right here is a picture of the orbs that came forth after we did a lot of work at a natural plant medicine ceremony in Mount Shasta, California, and we went to a waterfall, and then these orbs came forth during this time. Also, we were working on intimacy, and we were working with the Saint Germain violet flame during this time. And we call it in Saint Germain, which Saint Germain is definitely associated with purple. And I took a picture of someone that was going into the natural water source to fill up their bottle, and I got a picture of this woman that was surrounded by the purple violet flame. And then when I went up to her to show her the picture, she looked at me and she said, "I am Saint Germain," and she hugged me. And Saint Germain is known to travel through different people to relay messages. And this was right before a profound experience that I had within my own twin flame relationship. So if you're the type of person that likes magic and miracles and paranormal events, you're going to love PLAE, and you're absolutely going to be ecstatic in our ceremonies. So my daughter, who I did the ayahuasca when I was pregnant with her, she was about 4 years old, and of course, children are very connected. Just they learn to be disconnected through our programming within society. But when children are born, and I'm sure you know this, when you were born as a child, you were very connected, but we learn to lose that connection. I had actually gained about 14 pounds of water weight, and this was years ago. And I was sitting on the couch talking to my husband, complaining about it. And my daughter Willow says, "Mom, it's time to come and look at the flowers." And I was thinking that I really didn't want to, but then I remembered she's a very special girl and she's done a lot of healing, so I've learned to listen to her. And so I said, "Okay." And she went out and she pointed to this plant that was growing in our yard, and I didn't even know what it was. And I took a picture of it and put it in Google Images, and it was skunk cabbage. And skunk cabbage is used for water weight. She was connecting to the plant, and the plant was telling her what to use, and then she came back and told me. And my husband and I made skunk cabbage tea that night, and it literally got rid of the whole 14 pounds. So when we learn to connect with nature, if you're 4 years old, you can learn how to heal by just listening to the plants. I remember in one ceremony that we had for PLAE, there was a gentleman who came and he had invested $6,500 in a stock right before he came. And during the ceremony, we worked on money blocks with him. And his money blocks were you have to work hard to earn money, you have to work this amount per day, you have to suffer to earn money. So we were really getting rid of his money blocks and his money paradigms and making it so you could breathe and move and laugh and have fun and play and make money at the same time. And so we were programming him with this, and we were really working hard on this because it was very important to him to resolve his money issue. And of course, he was laughing and having fun because we play. And within 2 days, his investment went up from 6,500 to 130,000 while he was in ceremony with us. Another incident that happened, which I like to tell these cute incidences within my own life because it gives you an idea of how paranormal this work can be, is I was working on my DNA in reference to the alcoholism gene because my dad died an alcoholic, and I just wanted to clear that from my genetics. But after my dad passed away, and even before he passed away, my mother was 100% against drinking. You couldn't even drink one drink around her. Our husbands couldn't drink. No one could drink. And I did all this work on the DNA, clearing the alcoholism gene, working through the trauma. Promise this happened. Went to my sister's house because we were having a picnic, and my family was doing jello shooters, which I don't drink because the natural plant medicine has caused me not to drink. I don't see anything wrong with drinking occasionally, but I just don't drink. But just to see my sisters doing it with their children, and my mom even did a jello shooter, I was completely in shock. And my husband and I were just staring at each other. But it was like that's always been their reality. And it was such a huge shift that it couldn't be ignored. I knew this was because of the work. So I believe in the many worlds theory, and that is we have different realities that exist side by side. And as we shift and we change our beliefs or our paradigms or we work in the DNA, we are jumping from one reality to the other. It can seem very subtle. I still left my house that morning, got into my regular car, and drove to her house. But that was the change. It was still a different reality. Things were still the same about it, but that was different in that reality. So you can start seeing these differences in your reality. It can be as subtle as having a neighbor who's always in a bad mood and being mean. And then you're doing work on your heart and the frequency and receiving unconditional love. And all of a sudden you open the door one day and that neighbor's waving hi to you. You have just jumped into a different reality. So you can really have some amazing results with this and have fun. I love seeing how it just alters my worlds and how easy it is to co create with your consciousness in reference to the consciousnesses around you and the consciousness of all that is. It's not just about being okay. This is about flying. This is about having perfect health, perfect joy, unconditional love in your life, true love in your life, and having an infinite amount of abundance in all areas of your life. It's about experiencing freedom at a level where you can literally live your nirvana every single day. Okay, so I would love for you to join Play. I would love for you to play with us and have fun. Please also look at the PLAE ebook. You can go into different package options that we have. Schedule a consultation on the calendar, and I hope to see you and I hope to work with you. Thank you.
My name's Leslie, and I have been in Awake and Play for a year. It just marked a year last week. My first natural plant medicine ceremony with Awake was in May of 2023, and we went to Mount Shasta, and it was life changing. It was amazing. I went in, I honestly didn't expect anything because I didn't want to ruin the experience. I had been told by several people that have done ayahuasca, what their experience was, and I didn't want to hold on to that. I wanted my own experience. So I literally just, the only intention that I set for the weekend was to to know that I wasn't going to get any sleep. Like I literally went in and I was like, I'm not going to get any sleep because of how I sleep and how I'm a weird sleeper. But when I got there, it was way more than I could ever imagine. I never felt so much, and I'm feeling it again. I've never felt so much love in a community like that. I never felt so safe where I could, oh, where I could be myself and not worry about the words coming out of my mouth and not worry about somebody judging me and not worry about, being myself. And I've always worried about that. And when I took the medicine the first night, um, I got to see so many aspects of myself and I got to tap into remembering who I am. I got to see different things that I've forgotten about who I am as a soul and about my experience here, and just remembering who I truly am. And when the facilitators, Rebecca, when they started working on me and they started saying things, and it literally took me down this tunnel that it was like a remembrance. It was just like a waking up of my soul. And I worked through so much self-hatred that first night and so much of my body, hating my body, and finally feeling some type of love, just the start of loving myself. Because I couldn't even look in the mirror. I avoided mirrors. I hated talking just because I didn't want people to look at me. I felt bad for people that were listening to me talk because I didn't want them to look at me. And I avoided situations talking to people. And there I was able to overcome that, start to overcome that and start to love myself. The second time I went to a plant medicine ceremony, we were on this lake with the mountains, which was so beautiful. We woke up early one morning and the clouds were sitting right there above the mountains, and it was like your own heaven. You were right there, right with the clouds. It was so beautiful. All of them are different. And I think that you get exactly what you need at each ceremony you go to. And this one was so different because it was for me to see my gifts and what I need to work on and how powerful I am, to be honest. It was for me to see that there at this retreat. And since the plant medicine retreats, I have chosen to become a facilitator as well because of how much love I have for plant medicine now and what it's taught me and shown me. I want to share that with other people. So facilitating these retreats, it gets me excited because I know what I've experienced and what I've worked through and overcome. And I want that. I want everybody to feel that. And I love doing these retreats to show people, not to show people, but so they can remember who they are, so they can start this beautiful journey because it is life changing. And it's like, I want everybody to feel this beautiful, blissful love and peace for life and just be happy to be here in this human experience.
My name is Hervé Adeotanjidina, and I joined 6 months ago. I needed to start working a little bit more towards my spiritual journey on this earth. Program has been so far the best program that I joined. I feel so blessed for the opportunity because it was a great opportunity for me. I was not doing well. I have my first experience with the plant medicine with Rebecca and Nell at the beginning of this year, in the month of January 2024. It was my first experience, and I can say that it is the best thing that happened to me. The plant medicine experience, what I can say is for me, and I believe it is almost the same for many other people. For me, it was like a calling. For the first time when I heard about the plant medicine, I was watching a spiritual video on Gaia. And I saw that, and it looked very weird for me. And I told myself, no, 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 I'm not gonna do something like I don't wanna do something like that. So I started resisting from that period. I started resisting to the plant medicine ceremony. But it was a call. Right there, it was a call. It was a call. And finally, I said, hey, I'm dealing with a lot of health issues. And I think that this ceremony can help me with that and can also help me uh, awake all my spiritual powers. So, and that's what moved me uh, to decide to go to the ceremony, and uh, I'm still enjoying till now. We are in February now, almost the end of the month, and I'm still seeing the positive benefit and effect of the plant medicine. I'm noticing that my life really shifts. I went to the plant medicine first for healing, second for more clarity about the next step that I need to undertake in my life. And since I am back from the ceremony, I'm doing way better health-wise. Uh, the symptoms that I had before gone, and clarity-wise, I can see clearly, and I have a lot of synchronicities right now in my life, showing me that okay, I am on the right path, and I need to keep taking action. So it is just a wonder. Yeah. The ceremony is itself, it is the best experience ever. I believe that it may depend also in the person who is facilitating the ceremony. We were blessed by Rebecca and Neil, and the space was really safe, and the energy was an energy of pure love. In that kind of setting, that kind of ambience, the result is always positive, is always very good. The setting is really safe, attractive, everything we need uh, to to distract ourselves, to uh, have rest and to entertain and everything was just perfect. Is a wonderful experience, and I can't wait to have this experience again. And above that, also, I truly value the connection, the opportunity of connection with the other participants. It was a big opportunity to connect with people that you never knew before, and everybody come with his experience, his challenge, his struggle, and we support ourselves, and we are still in connection today. I had new friends, new brothers, new sisters, so all in all, it's just a wonderful opportunity.
My name is Alex Caceres. I joined Awake and Play back in the beginning of fall. So right around the end of September, early October. And I attended a plant medicine ceremony in Sedona, Arizona back in January. And since then, my life has completely changed in every possible way. Not only was I able to release a ton of stuck, awful stuff that was just lingering for generations and generations, but physically, I feel incredible. Since doing plant medicine, I have not only found the love of my life, but I've also quit vaping. I have quit drinking coffee. Um, and I have launched my own business doing this work, and have had such great success. I'm just under 2 weeks launched, um, and I've already done 11 consult calls, 8 booked sessions. Um, I have 3 more people booked for this week, all also rebooking, so they're coming back again. So this stuff is really incredible. Not only has it changed my life, but I've seen changes within my family unit. Everyone is on their own path of healing, and it's phenomenal. It's phenomenal, the changes I've seen. So within my plant medicine experience, I experienced a lot. A lot of different aspects of myself came forward. I had moments uh, of rebirthing people with Rebecca. It was unbelievable. I didn't really understand what was happening. I just knew how significant it was. Our drum circles were phenomenal. Feeling the rhythm and the movement within our bodies. Even at one point, Rebecca came up to me and mentioned that I should be putting my arms up above my head. Like I needed to put my arms up. And there was a huge release within my body when I started working with my arms and putting them up above my head. And I had this whole, it was like I was becoming an eagle, and I could feel my power like growing. And since doing that, I've had my light language be activated. I am noticing my all-seeing hand is really on fire these days. I am getting to different grids that I had never seen before. And it all came from a little bit of movement that was suggested. There was even a moment where I was in a really deep process. I got stuck in a little hellscape one of my nights, and it was really important that I was there, and it showed me a lot. And there were moments where I thought I was about to die, and I think I did. I was reborn. But I remember at one point, Rebecca was like working on my back, and I had this profound conversation with a 6-year-old where I was explaining to her how protected and loved she was, and it felt like I was talking to a little version of myself, and it was like immediately all of the weight just left. And the following night, I spent the night dancing and moving and purging and just letting go of all of the excess that still needed to go. So when I say it was profound beyond measure, and everything that I took from that ceremony has since integrated. And I've been able to maintain the lessons and maintain the information I was given, and I've seen nothing but positive change since then. So it seems to get a little bit better every day.
My name is Sandra Bryant. I live in Oklahoma, kind of in the northeastern part of the state. I joined Awake in March of this year, 2023. And as part of that program, I also enrolled in the PLAE program as well. When I joined Awake in PLAE originally, I was on a health journey, and so I had been seeking for a couple of years some, self-healing modalities that would work for me. And I had been aware of the ceremonies, the plant medicine ceremonies, and had been wanting to do it for a while. And I was just on the internet one day and came across Rebecca's program, and also noticed that it had a plant medicine aspect to it. And so I got very excited and joined almost immediately. So health-wise, I was dealing with what I've been told is a rare blood disorder, and it's called ITP, which is short for immune thrombocytopenia purpura. And essentially what that is it's your platelet count is very low and can become dangerously low, where you actually can just bleed out and not be aware of it. Because when your platelet count gets too low, that's actually what creates the integrity of your blood vessels. So when they go away, your blood vessels go away. Western medicine considers this disease as incurable. They have a lot of interesting, expensive drugs that they use to treat it currently. Interestingly enough, the doctor that I have now let me know right up front that his job was not to cure me, but to prevent me from bleeding to death. When the blood vessels disintegrate, you can bleed internally, period. So I knew at that point, and actually respected him for telling me that, because now I knew that it was up to me to cure this disease myself. I've been diagnosed with this condition. It was actually in December of 2019 that I became aware that it was an issue. I signed up for an Awake PLAE ceremony that I attended in September of this year. again, 2023. I was very excited because I had always wanted to attend one of these ceremonies and felt like that it was what was going to flip my switch. And so I was excited. I was very open. I had, I was just open to whatever was going to happen. And Rebecca and her husband Niles facilitated the ceremony, and it was incredible. I mean, it was just, they treated us like family. It was just amazing, all the wonderful things that they did for us. The first night went in with the attitude that I know nothing and I wasn't expecting anything. And I had some movement. I felt like it was very gentle on me the first night. The second night, I actually went through a healing ceremony with the other group. Just the love was just overwhelming, the amount of love that was going on at that time. And that was really one thing that I had been struggling with, is that I knew that I had to open my heart in order to heal. But up until that point, I had not been successful at that. And it really wasn't until that ceremony on the second night that the group, there were members in the group that actually planned it for me, which it just still chokes me up. The love that was there and their concern for me at their ceremony. So that was the point where I felt like my heart just absolutely flew open. I released some things that I needed to release. And then the third night, my intention, this is all about intention. And so my third night, I went in with the intention of continuing to clear out some of this stuck energy and to continue to open my heart. And boy, it did. So I did a lot of purging on the third night, a crazy amount of purging on the third night. Well, it was almost as if I couldn't do it myself, and the plant medicine facilitated it for me. So when I got home from the ceremony, which was actually my doctor's appointment was the very next day, and my platelet count, they had increased 60,000 from the prior appointment, which was before the ceremony. And so I'd gone the Tuesday before the ceremony, and then the Tuesday after the ceremony, my platelet count had increased 60,000. So I was up to 133,000, which is just right under the normal range. And this last one that I went to, I am in the normal range of 142,000. The ceremony did it for me, healing. So I only expect my numbers to go up. So my doctor's reaction, I see him every week. And so he was laughing and he said, he said, you've really kicked your brain in gear. You're thinking, you're doing a lot of thinking. And I said, well, I'm not really doing a lot of thinking. I'm doing a lot of meditation and, stuff like that. And I didn't go into that. But he was blown away. He actually shook my hand. He came into the exam room and shook my hand and started, talking about, what are we going to do if it stays within the normal range? How are we going to handle that? We're planning on getting me off this medication now. But he was blown away. He shook my hand when he came into the room, and he shook my hand before he left the room, and so I don't know. He was just as excited as I was. I believe that the ceremony, the awake ceremony, for me was the only place that it could happen because of the group that I was there with and the fact that I felt safe. But, I think that if I had gone anywhere else for this ceremony, I wouldn't have gotten the, I just feel like in some ways on that second night when some of them in the group, had this thought of doing this healing for me, that I would not have gotten that in a different ceremony, because I feel like those people would have obviously been there for themselves, which is what they should have been there for. But I had a group in this program that I was in, and it was more intimate, and it was more everybody was more connected, and I just don't think I would have gotten that anywhere else. Matter of fact, that's probably why I hadn't done a ceremony up until that point, because I was just fearful of going south to do that.
My name is Jessie Rogers, and I joined PLAE in November of 2022. It was at a big moment of transformation in my life. I had left my career of 22 years to start off on a new path and a new direction into my life. And I was listening to a podcast, and somebody said the word ayahuasca. And it was as if I was a tuning fork, and all I heard was that word. So I went home and I Googled ayahuasca, and the first thing that came up was Dr. Rebecca Sullivan. And I saw her programs for Awake and for PLAE. I was able to talk to her about this transition time in my life, and that I had heard this word ayahuasca. I had never heard of it, never anything. And she said, "Oh, you have heard the call of Mother Ayahuasca." And I go, "Sure. Okay, I guess I did." So I attended November 1st, 2022, my first day of PLAE. And I did each module. I took, it was a sacred time of preparation. This was nothing that I jumped into suddenly. This was after months of thinking about it and trying to understand why I was being called this direction. My first ceremony was in Sedona, Arizona, with Niall and Rebecca. And it was a very sacred time because it was at the beginning of the year, starting of 2023. And I spent 3 days in the sacred place with sacred people doing sacred things. And I was told that on my first day of class, actually here in my own notes and my own writing, was quoting Rebecca. And she says, "Get ready to move forward. Get ready to witness transformation." And to say that has happened to me is an understatement. I have opened 2 locations of a business. I am now working with my husband, who left his career to come and help me in the business that we have started from the inside of our souls. It has transformed me in ways that I didn't know was possible. I grew up very, very strict religious, very tight Christian. Reins were placed on me at a very young age. And getting rid of parts of myself that I didn't know myself without those things. And so it's kind of like Michelangelo. He looked at the statue of David. He saw David within all of that blocky marble, and he just had to remove the things that weren't David. And I felt that's what ayahuasca did for me, is it took chunks and chunks and chunks of me away that were called, what I didn't even know what that was at the time, religious programming. And it obliterated them and alchemized that into love, peace, and joy, and the propulsion necessary to follow my soul path as to why I'm here on earth. During the ceremony, I found that the energy that Niall and Rebecca brought in really amplified the room. The music everything was very intentional. The food was intentional. The way Rebecca and Niall spoke to one another was intentional. The way the food was prepared the setting, everything is about intention. And that's what PLAE, all of those modules and all of that learning of these things that have been kept from our Western minds, everything became expansive. And all of a sudden I would look at my hands and they would know what to do. There were so many learning experiences. And especially when Rebecca talks about going in with no expectations, I didn't even know what that meant. I didn't know what it was like to not have expectations of something, because I was covered in expectations myself. Actually, the name of my business was given to me on day 3 of PLAE. I had a vision during the meditation and I was shown the name Abundance Healing Center. And then I have it written down, the day. And I thought, what is that? And then I went to the ceremony in Sedona. And on the second day, I took a picture of myself sitting in the sun. And I sent it to my husband. And I zoomed into my eye. And in the center of my eye was a tree. I have the photograph. And they said, "This is your logo." And then lots of sacred things happened the next night of the ceremony between my husband, who was actually in Michigan, and while I was in Arizona. That cemented our relationship, which I didn't know was possible. And then I was able to carry the morphogenic field of the ayahuasca to my husband in California the day I left Rebecca's ceremony. So that field and that connection, he was able to experience practically what I did at the ceremony, because I was so open and willing to share everything with him.
Love and light. My name's Alicia Monks. I'm a graduate of Awake and Play. 1/9 of 24, which is very divine. Went to my plant-based medicine retreat, and my experience was simply amazing. So much unconditional love, so much transformation. It literally catapulted my life into complete bliss. 5D and beyond experience. I would recommend it to anybody. PLAE modules were extremely helpful. Just completing that alone, I was already activated, knew what to expect, ready for what to expect, and it literally healed me before going to the plant-based medicine. I did not purge for days, which was amazing because that was my biggest fear, but no purging, just a beautiful experience. So it was during the 111 portal in Sedona, which is a vortex, and the portal was opening. I was blessed enough to witness starships. I thought they were stars. I walked outside and the sky opened up before me. I witnessed shooting stars, starships dancing. And we were asking, can we see you? Can you let us see you? Stars started shooting. We saw starships dancing, making shapes. It was simply amazing. Like, I've never seen anything like this in my life. These are stories you can't make up. Like, you just have to experience them. They were beautiful. I've never seen so many clusters of stars and been able to see Sirius constellation. The best thing that I could have conquered during plant-based medicine would have been self-love. Like, I am a being full of light and love, and I give it freely, but to accept it has always been hard for me. So I was able to overcome my ego in the mountains. So that was my biggest accomplishment, because everything was coming up against me to tell me, stop, don't go there. People were saying, it's dangerous, don't go, it's dangerous.
Y'all, my right-hand man right here on a journey convinced me I could do it, so I climbed. But then they saying we still gotta climb that, and
I think we should.
I don't know where that goes.
If
but
I can see those, if they can do it, that means I can do it.
Yeah, true. But let's just look on this next part of the journey. I don't know where it's gonna go, but we're gonna find out. Love you. Bye.
I knew that it was divine for me to make it to the 5,000-foot peak of Devil's Trail to transcend and ascend to my highest self. And that's where I was reborn dragon, reborn phoenix, reborn my highest self. And I will never forget it because now I no longer chase, I no longer martyr. I simply call it, I see it, I spider web it in, and I'm a weaver. So I weave it in and seal my timeline. And it's been beautiful. I've seen nothing but magic since ceremony.
My name is Tedodo Adante, and I'm from Canada, Toronto, Ontario. First experience with plant medicine was with Mount Shasta. It was in May the 23rd. I had a lot of healing that came from it. There was a lot of purging, and at that time I didn't realize how much release that I had to do on that time of those 3 days in Mount Shasta. But when I came back, I felt more healed. But I found that there was also a change in myself when I noticed that I was doing more hiking and connecting with nature, and also I was starting to see sacred geometry symbols, and I was also doing journaling. So I noticed there was a significant change in myself from the time I was at Mount Shasta, and I was so grateful for Rebecca and everyone who was there. Everyone's energy was great, and I had a wonderful time. It's a life altering experience, and it will help you put you on the course of your true self. I had significant changes and experiences once again, and it was just amazing time. I wanted to stay there more. Like, I hate to say it, 3 days wasn't enough. If anyone's ever thinking about it, just know that that's your intuition just telling you that you need to go or try out. It will help you on your journey, and don't be scared because it will help you become a better person and help you release a lot of the things that you've been holding. You find things repeating, or you don't know why that certain things are keep happening. I would recommend taking the plant medicine because it will help you release and remove some of those energies and blockage, and you can start living your life according to the way you should be living it.